Hello friends, I am Anika Zadho. Today we will talk about pollination. Pollination means transfer of pollen grain from anther to stigma. That transfer of pollen grains from anther to stigma. From anther to stigma. That is receptive stigma. Pollination. The anther and stigma may be of same flower or may be of different flower, or may be of same plant or may be of different flower. On the basis of this, pollination is subdivided into two parts. First one is self-pollination. And second one is a cross-pollination. Self-pollination is further divided into two types. First one is autogamy. Second one is geitonogamy. In autogamy, the pollen grains are transferred from anther to stigma of same flower. That is, anther and stigma both belong to same flower of same plant. Anther and stigma both are of same flower. Okay. Then geitonogamy. Geitonogamy means transfer of pollen grain from anther of one flower to the stigma of other flower of same plant. Anther of one flower to stigma of other flower of same plant. Here we can understand here that in autogamy, flower must be bisexual. And in geitonogamy, flower may be unisexual or may be bisexual. That is, from anther is present on male flower, then pollen grains are transferred from male flower to female flower of the same plant, or in bisexual condition, from pollen grains transfer from anther of one flower to the stigma of other flower. That flower may be unisexual or bisexual. Then cross-pollination. Cross-pollination also called as xenogamy or allogamy. In a cross-pollination, pollen grains are transferred from anther to stigma of flowers belonging to different plants. That is, anther of flower of one plant to stigma of flower of other plant. This is cross-pollination or xenogamy or allogamy. Here the condition is that in a cross-pollination, agents are required because it is not on a same plant. That's why here agents are required. These agents are of different type that we will see one by one afterwards. Before that, we have to understand difference between self-pollination and cross-pollination. We first study demerits of self-pollination. See, in a self-pollination, there is a mixing of same gene pool from generation to generation. Here, mixing of same gene pool from generation to generation, which is harmful because of this inbreeding depression may takes place. 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 Inbreeding depression means that the product of that particular fertilization is either sterile or maybe inbreeding depression may take place here. After that, because of self-pollination takes place in same plant, that's why there is no crossing of different gene pools, and hence no recombination takes place. No recombination takes place. That means no development or no formation of vigor here. Then in cross-pollination as mixing of different gene pools, because as a pollen grain and stigma belongs to different plants, that's why gene pool of that particular two plants may get mixed when pollination takes place, and after pollination their fertilization takes place, then mixing of gene pool takes place. That means here recombination takes place. As recombination takes place, the zygote which develop after cross-pollination fertilization, the zygote develop is a hybrid vigor. Hybrid vigor means means that the hybrid developed after fertilization is more potent than that of its parent. More potent than that of parents. It is also called as heterosis. Then, as we have studied that for cross-pollination different types of agencies are required, here we will discuss agencies required for cross-pollination. The agencies required are of two types. Agencies required. First one is biotic and second one is abiotic. In a biotic, there are different agencies. Let us take an example of first one is insects, second ant, third serpent, that means snake, fourth one is a snail, fifth one is a bat. Then in a biotic there are only two agencies. First one is water and second one is air. If pollination takes place by insect, then that particular pollination is called as entomophily. If by ants, then it is called myrmecophily. If it takes place by snake or serpent, it is called serpentophily. If by snail, then it is malacophily. And if pollination takes place by bat, then it is called as chiropterophily. If takes place by water, then it is called hydrophily. And if takes place by air, it is called anemophily. Here pollination by insect is most common type of pollination, and there are many examples also. Many examples. Let us take one example in an insect. Example is a salvia. This is the most important one example because here lever mechanism is seen. Lever mechanism is seen here. In ants, example is a ficus. That means fig. In a bat, example is Callistomia. Here not example is Adansonia, Bahonia, and also this 6. If pollination takes place by birds, then it is called ornithophyly. And its example is Callistomia. Bombyx. In these birds, most common types of birds are sunbird, hummingbird, etc. Then in abiotic pollinators, if water is pollinated, if water acts as an agency for pollination, then it's called hydrophily. Hydrophily is further divided into epihydrophily and hypohydrophily. Here I am writing that hydrophily is divided into epihydrophily. Second one is hypohydrophily. These are types of hydrophily here. Epihydrophily and hypohydrophily. Epihydrophily means that pollination takes place above the level of water, above the water level, and in hypohydrophily means pollination takes place below water level. Let us take an example. Epihydrophily. Example of epihydrophily is Vallisneria. Example of hypohydrophily is Zoostera ceratophyllum. Remember here that the pollen grain of Zoostera is elongated because as pollen grains are released on the surface of water, and because of density they come under water level, and if stigma come in a contact with that particular pollen grain, that pollen grain curd along about stigma and to hold it properly. As here we take example of hydrophily, it doesn't mean that all the plants present in water are pollinated by water. For example, in lotus, some sea grasses and lily, these are present in water, still they are pollinated by insects. The flower of these particular plants come above the water and they are pollinated by insect here. Then air. If agency is air, then it is called anemophily. Example of anemophily is a sorghum, wheat, etc. These are all about pollination, its type and agencies required for pollination. Thank you.